very excited you came by. Did you know that Albion means Britain? It's true. So Albion 1 is like the first Britain. And the other 2, 3, 4, and 5, they're like extra ones in case, maybe you lose the first one. And now for something completely different. Spitfire Audio's Albion ONE and ProjectSam Symphobia are ensemble orchestral libraries. What this means is instead of having violins and violas and cellos and basses, they just have string patches. Same thing for woodwinds and brass. And so if you don't know how to orchestrate, or you're not planning to study that, then it might be one of those two libraries might be a very good place to start for your first orchestral library. So I'm going to try and show you the difference between the two of them. I'll tell you things that one has that the other one doesn't, and the differences in overall approach. If you don't know Contact, it has multi-patches. When you click on one of them, it loads up a stack of presets. As you can see, Symphobia has all these folders for different genres, and there are 64 of these multis in all. These Symphobia Multis are collections of layers and keyboard splits carefully constructed by ProjectSam, so you could potentially do a huge symphonic score with just one patch. Let's try some. If you want to check out all the multis that are in Symphobia, Guy Rowland has done some videos, and I've put a link to them below. Albion 1 has true legato. Symphobia doesn't, although Symphobia 2 does have true legato. And what that means is if you play a D and then you play an E, you don't just get a recording of a D and a sample of an E. You get the actual sound of an orchestra moving from D to E. Now, this gives you a lot more realism, and it's a huge advantage. Two of the four sections of Albion 1 are hybrid, the Brunel loops and Stevenson's steam band. Even though the sounds are highly processed versions of symphonic sounds, this is synth type stuff. Look at what's included in Albion ONE, and you can see the hybrid emphasis, at least in terms of number of patches. There are very extensive videos about the Brunel loops and Stevenson steam band on the Spitfire site. There are 4 microphone options: close, tree, outriggers, and ambient. Symphobia only has 2. It is a big advantage to have that extra degree of control in fashioning your sound. Albion ONE has an incredible percussion section called Darwin Percussion, particularly good for loud stuff. There are a lot of percussion sounds in Symphobia, for example, in the orchestral hits and rips patch, but it's nothing like the Darwin percussion in Albion ONE. Symphobia lists for less than Albion ONE. Of course, you should always try to buy software on sale, and here are some recent prices. I should also say that both of them have gone on sale at least once for 50% off, so these prices are possible. Finally, ProjectSam allows resales and Spitfire Audio doesn't, so it's possible that you could save even more money by buying Symphobia from another musician. Symphobia came out in 2008. And it was followed by Symphobia 2, and then by Lumina, which focuses on fantasy, and then quite recently Pandora came out, which focuses on action and sci-fi and horror. Now, they were all played by the same orchestra, but ProjectSam doesn't feel that they're extensions of each other. They like to say that they complement each other. Spitfire actually came out with 2 libraries called Albion ONE. The first one, Albion ONE with a number, came out in 2011, and the second one, Albion ONE spelled out, came out in 2015. They don't sell the first one anymore, but you do get legacy patches in the new version of Albion. Now, the Albion series is not exactly, you couldn't call it expansions on the first one. They're all different kinds of themes and different kinds of styles. One of the most famous ones is Albion 5, which is described as recorded at the edge of silence. So I think it's fair to say they're constructed in similar ways, but they have different feelings and different styles. Both Albion ONE and Symphobia play in the free contact player, which means you don't have to buy anything else in order to use them. And they both have NKS functionality, which means that if you happen to have a Native Instruments controller, you will see that all the parameters are pre-mapped to the knobs. And if you have one of the more expensive controllers, then there will be light guides that will help you see the key switches and the note ranges. The Albion ONE interface is very small. This is how it looks on my 4K monitor. Too small for me, but Symphobia is okay. For the purposes of this video, I've reset my display to 1080p. Those tiny little things are your choice of articulation. Pizzicato and col legno, sordino, and if you know what this symbol means, you know it's tremolo. You can see a flag on the shorts, and whole notes are the longs. Now with Symphobia, they're all written out by name, which for me is easier. There are 2 ways to display the Albion ONE interface. In the full display, you have all your options for tailoring your sound on the right. All the sliders for your 4 mics are here. Clicking the icon on the left takes you to an Easy Mix page. With one slider, you can move all the mics at once, and you don't see all the parameters, only the most important ones. With Symphobia, there is one main page and a settings page. I'll get to that later. As there is only a close mic and a stage mic, the slider is always easy to use. While there are many octave patches in Albion ONE, you can turn anything in Symphobia into an octave patch using MIDI with this knob. You can also transpose it. The velocity knob adjusts how much Symphobia responds to your keyboard velocity. When you change the articulations, you can see that the attack and release change. You can then make fine adjustments if you wish. The speed knob lights up when you have something like a crescendo, and so then you can have a fast or a slow one. In addition to the main page, there's a second settings page you get by clicking the gear icon. In Albion ONE, if you hit more than one key switch, you can select more than one articulation at the same time. It's a nice feature, but sometimes I hit more than one by accident. In Symphobia, there are two settings on each page. Switch means you can only pick one articulation. Stack means you can pick as many as you want. In Albion ONE, there's a very easy way to change where all the key switches are located. You just touch this icon with your mouse and drag it from one side or the other. This is great because you can change all the key switches at once. With Symphobia, you simply click on an articulation and touch a new note. There's a second way to change articulations, though. They can be done with any knob or a slider. You never have to think about where the key switches are. By automating that one control, you can do lots of articulation switching very quickly within your DAW. Finally, Albion ONE has a feature called the ostinato with their short patches only. If you click this icon, you can make some repetitive rhythmic patterns. This is a very nice feature that Symphobia doesn't have. Both Albion ONE and Symphobia have string, brass, and woodwind sections, and also a string and brass combination section. If I tried to do direct comparisons for every single sound in the two libraries, it would take many hours, and I think you'd get lost in the details. So what I've decided to do is just to compare the way each of them handles strings. I think this is fair because there's more articulations in strings than in anything else in Albion ONE, and people really love the strings in Albion ONE. So I feel that this shows off Albion ONE at its best. We're looking at the main strings patch in Albion ONE. The first articulation is spiccato, which sounds like this. And this is the sound when you play the violin or any string instrument and the bow lifts off the string. So it's a really strong sound, and I think it's one of the things that Albion ONE is known for. The second short patch is a combination spiccato staccato, and the staccato is like a regular short patch, normal, not played with the bow coming off the string. So it sounds like this, and so it's a little bit, it's kind of like a halfway point between a spiccato and a staccato. And it's unusual that Albion ONE doesn't have a regular staccato. And I believe that Spitfire feels the same way because they're going to be doing an update that will have regular shorts in it. In fact, I think 3 kinds of staccatos. So we'll see if that happens. Then there is pizzicato. I mean, wow, that sounds so good. Col legno is a kind of percussion sound. It's when you hit the string with the bow. And then finally, the beautiful long sound of Albion ONE. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the legato yet, and it already sounds so great. And then this is the consordino, which is when you put a mute on the string instrument. And it's kind of a darker sound, I would say, but it's just beautiful. And then there's a tremolo articulation. Ooh. And then they have low octave short. Can you see why people who make trailers just love this? Oh, and same thing, octaves long. Incredible. Let's look at the original Albion ONE. Now that one starts with a brush articulation. To me, it's just a lot softer than the spiccato that begins with the new version. And here's their spiccato. And then they have a regular short. Which you don't have in the new version. So let's, just for fun, let's listen to the spiccato on the old one, and then I'll look at the new one and pick that spiccato. How do they sound? That's the new one. That's the old one. New, old. I mean, it's not exactly fair because I don't know if I've got the volumes balanced, but you can get a little sense of why some people prefer the old version and some people prefer the new version. They're different, and it's nice that that Spitfire includes some of these legacy patches, lots of legacy patches in the new version of Albion ONE, and they also have an original series, which is very inexpensive, that has old Albion ONE sounds in it. And so if you can't afford to get this, that's another option. So just going through, okay, to go through the legacy, here's the long. And then there are two FX patches in the legacy. I don't think there are any FX patches in the new one, and they're crazy. So, second one. Oh! I mean, Symphobia is really known for having a ton of stuff like this, but you know, Albion ONE has it too. You know, if you're looking for stuff like that, don't forget that you have it here in Albion ONE. Now, here is finally the legato strings, and it starts with strings full. It's octaves. Then the next one is low octaves. The mid. Notice that the mid is not octaves like the other. And then the high one, again octaves. Then there is a runs patch. It sort of gives you a lot of different things that are go up and down 1 octave and 3 octaves. So like there's and okay, that's actually 2 octaves. Okay. And this one's 3 octaves. Wow. And this one's a flurry. So, I mean, you're going to see majors and minors and ascending and descending. Here's minor, ascending 3 octaves. I think I've gotten through most of the string stuff that's within Albion ONE, and now I'm going to move on to Symphobia. Now, this is their string ensemble shorts. So you've got a staccato, which I think is really nice, and then there's an extra short. Then there is spiccato. And then again, an extra short. Useful. Staccato. And con legno, again, the percussive sound. And then marcato is an articulation that you don't find in Albion ONE, which is, you're playing the bow but with emphasis. Now, here are the longs, and this one has vibrato that comes up. When they're saying mod wheel, that means that the volume comes up only through the mod wheel. And then in the next patch, the volume can come up through velocity. Now we have something that's fast attack with the mod wheel. And then concertino. Tremolo. Here's another nice one that you don't get with Albion ONE. And there's a speed dial where, so if I want a real fast one or a real slow one, and I should also say that it's nice with all of these. to have this octave thing. I mean, it's doing the octave through MIDI. The more you turn this knob, the more of the additional octave you'll hear. But this is just a way that you can take every single patch you have in Symphobia and give it a lot more power. Okay, now I'm going to the Sultasto patches. Whenever you see the word sul on a string articulation, it means on, or it means played near, and tasto means the fingerboard, so it's played. Violas. And the basses. Now, this is one of those patches where the stack mode gets interesting, because then you can start to put combinations of different instruments. And this probably exists on other patches within Symphobia, but I notice here that there's also a third mic, a wide mic, and so when you hit the slider, it's playing around with that other mic. We have here a violin section extras patch, and so here, so there's that marcato sound with emphasis, and this time it's softer. And here's a short tremolo. The tremolo patch that we saw before in Symphobia was a long. I mean, tremolos tend to stay when you hit the key. So this is just that. This is the flageolet sustain. Flageolet is about harmonics. And, if you play the guitar, you know that if you put your finger in certain places, you can get a harmonic. And so this is just, it's a harmonic sound. And here's a marcato. When you play these like really quiet, this harmonic sound can be very beautiful. I'm trying to get this. It says string quintet up there, and then it says string quartet down here. So it doesn't break it down in terms of different instruments, but it's got a sustain. And then there's marcato and a staccato and the pizzicato. I mean, Albion ONE is a huge, huge sound, and there's nothing like this that's more, that's modest like this. I don't know what you say. Simple, small. This is one of my favorite. It's these cellos and basses in octaves. And then this is kind of cool. They put in a synth bass. I think the mod wheel, brings the synth bass in more. That's really got strength. And the pizzicato is my favorite. just the kind of sound you know you're going to want to use. It comes with chords. So, I mean, these are one fingers. And I go up a little bit further and they're minor. And there's another patch which is higher. Now you have the kind of thing that's real Symphobia. It's your clusters. Oh. I'm just giving you some of the variety on the what they call long, and now let's go to the short ones. I enjoyed that. Then the clusters sustained and bending. And then there's tremolo and dynamics. I'm going to stack a few of these. Okay, watch out. That's short at the front. The ability to stack shorts and longs or different kinds of articulations, it's one of the things that makes Symphobia very special and lets you get a lot more out of it than many other libraries. Now here's the effects. Okay, hold on to your hats. This one's got gliss. This one is the cellos. Wild string textures, as if what we had before wasn't wild. Okay. Oh, this is cool. How often do you hear that kind of stuff? And cello basses effects. You wouldn't really think when you're hearing cello basses effects that they would sound like that. Okay, we're going to hear the col legno. Bang. I think when you have the basses and the cellos doing them, that's a very solid percussion sound. I'm going to stack some stuff here. All right, let's just do them all. So those are all the string patches I can find from Symphobia and Albion One. There's probably some other stuff in there that I didn't put, but I hope it gives you a sense of how they differ in approach. And you'll find similar things if you look at the brass and at the woodwinds. Albion One, first and foremost, has tremendous sound. It has true legato. It was recorded in one of the most beautiful halls around, Air Studios in London. It has 109 musicians, which makes it very, very big sound. And there are numerous hybrid instruments that in it. The Brunel loops and the Stevenson's steam band. It has this great percussion area that's very, very strong. And there's runs. It's an amazing patch with runs. There are effects in the legacy patches, and there's this ostinato feature that allows you to make these melodic and rhythmic patterns. So it's got a lot to offer. On the other hand, Symphobia has a lot more articulations and sounds than Albion One does. It has things like flageolet and sultasto, which are really beautiful sounds. And, in addition to the consordino, which Albion One has, there are chords. There's a chord patch. There's clusters and glissandi. There's crescendo. There's a string quintet. There's a lot in there that you don't find in Albion One in terms of just sheer quantity of orchestral effects. I have them both, but if I were to go back in time and say which one would I get, I can say that I would definitely get Symphobia because I love the multis so much. I just really enjoy playing the multis, and I'm much more interested in that kind of experience than composing, to be honest. But only you know what kind of music you make and what kind of sounds that you like. So take your time with this. Watch a lot of videos and listen to demos. I hope this video has been somewhat helpful. And it's expensive, so think this stuff over and wait for sales. I've put some links below to some forums where people have discussed what they think about one or the other. That kind of stuff can be interesting too in making a choice, but take it with a grain of salt because everybody has their own opinions and that may not be have anything to do with what you like. But I do hope that whether you buy one of these two libraries or something else, that you will get involved with orchestral music because it's really enriched my life, and I hope it will do the same for you. I'm Tiger the Frog.